Listen, I'm about to tell you the 4 words that have kept you poor your entire life. And if you don't stop saying them in the next 24 hours, you will die broke. I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how much you pray. These 4 words create a spiritual force field that repels money from your life like oil repels water. Right now, hit that like button. Then drop a comment with these 3 words. I attract wealth. Type it. Because you're about to reprogram your entire financial destiny, and heaven needs to witness your declaration. And subscribe, because I release these wealth secrets weekly, and missing even one could cost you millions. I'm Rabbi Shimon, 83 years old. I've counseled billionaires, advised CEOs, and taught wealth principles to people who started with nothing and now control generational fortunes. And what I'm about to share with you isn't theory. This is the ancient science of wealth creation that's been hidden in the Torah for 3,000 years. But before I tell you the 4 cursed words, I need to tell you why they work. Because if you don't understand the mechanism, you won't take this seriously. And that will be the biggest financial mistake of your life. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the text says, "And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." Notice the sequence. God didn't think light into existence. He didn't wish for light. He spoke, and the universe obeyed. Now here's what most people miss. You are made in the image of God, which means you carry the same creative power in your words. When you speak, you're not just making sounds. You're releasing frequencies into the atmosphere that attract or repel circumstances, people, opportunities, and yes, money. The Hebrew word for word is davar. But davar doesn't just mean word. It means thing, matter, substance. In Hebrew consciousness, words and things are the same category. When you speak a word, you're creating a thing. You're manifesting substance in the spiritual realm that must eventually materialize in the physical realm. This is why Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Your tongue is the most powerful wealth creation tool you possess, or the most powerful poverty creation tool. It depends on what you're saying. Now let me take you back to ancient Israel. King Solomon, the wisest and wealthiest man who ever lived, is sitting in his palace. He's surrounded by gold. His kingdom is prosperous. Nations come to him for advice. And one day, his advisors ask him, "What's the secret? How did you accumulate wealth that surpasses all the kings of the earth?" And Solomon tells them something shocking. He says, "I never spoke lack. Even when I was young, even when my father David was still establishing the kingdom, even when we had enemies on every side, I never allowed certain words to come out of my mouth." His advisors press him. What words? And Solomon gives them a list. 4 specific phrases that create poverty consciousness. 4 combinations of words that, when spoken, activate a spiritual law that blocks the flow of abundance. These 4 phrases have been passed down through rabbinic tradition for 3,000 years. Most rabbis know them. But they don't teach them publicly because they're afraid people won't believe it. They're afraid it sounds too simple. They're afraid people will dismiss it as superstition. But I'm 83 years old. I'm not afraid of what people think anymore. And I'm going to tell you exactly what Solomon said. Because your financial freedom depends on it. The first cursed phrase is, "I can't afford it." Now you're thinking, "But Rabbi, that's just being honest. If I don't have the money, I can't afford it." Wrong. You're not being honest. You're being prophetic. And you're prophesying poverty over your life. Listen carefully. When you say, "I can't afford it," you're not describing your current reality. You're creating your future reality. You're sending a signal into the universe that says, I am a person who cannot afford things. And the universe responds by ensuring that remains true. Here's what Solomon understood. Your current bank account is not your financial identity. Your current bank account is simply a snapshot of your past decisions, past beliefs, past words. It has nothing to do with what you can create in the future. But when you say, I can't afford it, you're collapsing your future into your past. You're making your history more powerful than your destiny. The billionaires I've counseled never say, I can't afford it. Even when they're starting out. Even when they're broke. They say different words. They say, that's not a priority right now. Or, I'm choosing to invest my resources elsewhere. Or, I'm allocating my capital differently. You see the difference? They're not speaking lack. They're speaking choice. They're maintaining their identity as someone who has resources and makes decisions about those resources. When you say, I can't afford it, you're identifying as a victim. When you say, that's not a priority, you're identifying as a steward. And the universe responds to identity, not circumstances. The second cursed phrase is, I'm broke. Even if your bank account has $0 in it, you are not broke. You are temporarily without cash. There's a massive difference. I'm broke is an identity statement. It's saying, brokenness is who I am. And when you claim brokenness as your identity, you create an energetic signature that attracts more brokenness. People who are broke attract broken opportunities, broken relationships, broken investments. Everything around them breaks because they've declared brokenness over their life. Here's what's happening in the spiritual realm when you say, I'm broke. You're activating what we call in Hebrew, kelipot, shells or husks that block the flow of divine abundance. Think of it like this. Heaven is constantly sending provision your way. It's like a river flowing toward you. But when you speak poverty, you're building a dam. The water is still flowing, but it can't reach you because you've blocked it with your words. I knew a man named David, successful businessman, built a company worth $12 million. Then the 2008 crash hit. Lost everything. And I mean everything. House foreclosed, cars repossessed, savings gone. He came to me devastated. And the first thing out of his mouth was, Rabbi, I'm broke. I'm completely broke. I stopped him right there. I said, don't ever say that again. You're not broke. You're rebuilding. You're in transition. You're between chapters. But you are not broke. Broke is not your name. He looked at me like I was crazy. But I made him promise. For 30 days, he was not allowed to say, I'm broke. Every time he wanted to say it, he had to say instead, I'm in my wealth-building season. You know what happened? Within 30 days, a former colleague reached out with a consulting opportunity. Within 90 days, he'd made $60,000. Within a year, he'd started a new company. Within 3 years, that company was worth more than his first one. And he tells people, it started the day I stopped calling myself broke. The third cursed phrase is, that's too expensive. When you say something is too expensive, you're making a statement about value. You're saying, that thing has more value than I can access. You're putting the power in the object and taking the power away from yourself. Wealthy people never say, that's too expensive. They say, that's expensive. You see the difference? Removing the word too changes everything. That's expensive is an observation. That's too expensive is a limitation. When you say too expensive, you're declaring that you exist in a reality where certain things are beyond your reach. And that declaration creates a ceiling over your life. You can work hard, you can save money, you can get promotions, But you'll never break through that ceiling because you built it with your own words. Here's the secret. Nothing is too expensive. Things are simply expensive or inexpensive. And if something is expensive, that's information, not a barrier. That information tells you either, I need to increase my capacity, or this isn't where I should allocate resources right now. But the moment you say, too expensive, you've given up. You've surrendered. You've agreed with poverty. I once counseled a young woman named Rebecca. She wanted to start a business, but needed $15,000 for equipment. She kept saying, "It's too expensive. I'll never be able to afford it." I told her to stop saying that. Instead say, "That's a significant investment. Now I need to get creative about how to access that capital." You know what happened? She stopped saying, "Too expensive." And within 2 weeks, she had an idea to pre-sell her services. She reached out to potential customers, explained what she was building, offered them a founding member discount. She raised $18,000 in 30 days. All because she stopped speaking limitation. The fourth cursed phrase, and this is the deadliest one. Money doesn't grow on trees. You've heard this your whole life. Your parents said it. Your grandparents said it. It's been passed down like a family curse. And that's exactly what it is. A curse. When you say money doesn't grow on trees, you're declaring that money is scarce. You're declaring that money is hard to get. You're declaring that money requires struggle and suffering and sacrifice. And all of that becomes true in your life because you've spoken it into existence. But here's the truth that billionaires know. Money absolutely grows on trees. Money is everywhere. Money is abundant. Money flows like water. There's more than enough money in the world for everyone to be wealthy. The only question is, are you positioned to receive it? Think about it. Where does money actually come from? Ideas. And where do ideas come from? Your mind. And your mind is connected to the infinite intelligence of God, which means you have access to an unlimited supply of ideas, which means you have access to an unlimited supply of money. But when you say, money doesn't grow on trees, you disconnect yourself from that infinite supply. You put yourself in a scarcity mindset. And in a scarcity mindset, you can't see opportunities. You can't recognize divine connections. You can't hear the ideas that heaven is trying to download into your spirit. Let me tell you about Thomas. He grew up poor. His father used to say, "Money doesn't grow on trees," every single day. Thomas internalized that. Even after he got a good job, he struggled with money, lived paycheck to paycheck, couldn't build savings, couldn't invest. He was stuck. Then he came to one of my seminars. I taught about these 4 cursed phrases. He realized he was still saying, money doesn't grow on trees, even though his father had been dead for 15 years. He decided to change it. Started saying instead, money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources. Within 6 months, his boss offered him a promotion he didn't even apply for. Within a year, he'd received an inheritance from a distant relative he barely knew. Within 2 years, he'd invested that inheritance and doubled it. He tells everyone, I stopped agreeing with my father's poverty and started agreeing with God's abundance. Now here's what you need to understand. These aren't just phrases to avoid. You need to replace them with wealth-attracting declarations. Instead of, I can't afford it, say, I'm choosing to allocate my resources strategically. Instead of, I'm broke, say, I'm building my wealth foundation right now. Instead of, that's too expensive, say, that's expensive, and I'm creating a plan to access it. Instead of, money doesn't grow on trees, say, money flows to me easily and abundantly. For the next 30 days, I want you to be violently aware of your words. Every time one of those 4 cursed phrases tries to come out of your mouth, stop it. Literally, stop mid-sentence if you have to. Replace it immediately with the wealth-attracting alternative. This is going to feel weird at first. It's going to feel fake. Your logical mind is going to fight you. It's going to say, "But this isn't true. I really can't afford that. I really am broke." Ignore that voice. That's the voice of poverty consciousness. That's the voice that's kept you in lack your whole life. Here's what I've seen happen over and over again. People who commit to changing their words for 30 days experience financial breakthroughs within 60 to 90 days. Not because the words are magic, but because the words change their consciousness. And changed consciousness attracts different circumstances. Let me give you the biblical foundation for this. In Numbers 13, Moses sends 12 spies into the Promised Land. They come back with a report. 10 of them say, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, say, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." Same land, same enemies, same circumstances, different words. And here's what happened. The 10 who spoke lack died in the wilderness. They never entered the Promised Land. The 2 who spoke faith entered and conquered. Your words don't just describe your reality. Your words determine your reality. Proverbs 13:3 says, "Those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin." This isn't metaphorical. This is literal. Your financial life is being preserved or ruined by what comes out of your mouth. Job 22:28 says, "You will also declare a thing, and it will be established for you." Declare. Not wish, not hope, not pray. Declare. Speak it with authority, and it will be established. Let me tell you what's happening right now as you're reading this. There's a war going on in your mind. Part of you is saying, "This makes sense. I'm going to try this." Another part of you is saying, "This is nonsense. Words don't create wealth. Hard work creates wealth." Let me address that second voice. Hard work is important. Wisdom is important. Strategy is important. But hard work without the right words is just struggle. I've seen people work 3 jobs and stay poor. I've seen people work 60 hours a week for decades and retire broke. Hard work is not the problem. Poverty consciousness is the problem. And poverty consciousness is maintained by poverty language. The billionaires I know don't work harder than you. They work smarter. And part of working smarter is speaking smarter. They've mastered the language of wealth. They've eliminated poverty vocabulary from their mouths. And because of that, they attract wealth opportunities that poor people can't even see. Here's your assignment. For the next 7 days, I want you to carry a small notebook. Every time you catch yourself saying one of the 4 cursed phrases, write it down. Don't judge yourself. Just document it. You're going to be shocked at how often you speak poverty without even realizing it. After 7 days of documenting, start the replacement phase. For the next 23 days, actively replace every cursed phrase with a wealth declaration. By day 30, this will be automatic. Your default language will have changed. And when your language changes, your financial reality must change. Let me pray for you. Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the God who gives power to get wealth. I'm asking you right now to break every poverty curse that's been spoken over these precious souls. Every generational declaration of lack, every limiting belief that's been reinforced by wrong words. I break it now in Yeshua's name. And I release a spirit of abundance, a spirit of wisdom, a spirit of wealth creation. Let their words align with your promises. Let their declarations create new realities. Let their mouths become fountains of blessing instead of streams of cursing. And as they change their words, change their circumstances. Open doors no man can shut. Create opportunities they never imagined. And let them become the wealthy, generous, kingdom-financing believers you created them to be. Now remember what I told you at the beginning. Type in the comments, "I attract wealth." Declare it publicly. Let heaven and earth witness your new declaration. And share this with someone who's been stuck in poverty. This teaching could change their bloodline. Subscribe because next week, I'm revealing the one prayer that attracted $47 million to a woman who was living in her car. I'm Rabbi Shimon. May the Lord bless you and make you wealthy. May his face shine upon you and give you wisdom. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Complete peace, complete provision, complete financial freedom. Watch your mouth. Change your words. Transform your wealth. This is the Billionaire Warning. 4 words that keep you poor. You just learned them. Now, eliminate them.